Something strange started happening in my life after one day. I was 27, living in a small apartment in a quiet city, working a regular office job that paid the bills but didn't exactly set my soul on fire. Life was predictable. Wake up, coffee, commute, spreadsheets, home, repeat. But last summer, something happened that shook everything up. It started with a random email I almost deleted. I was clearing out my inbox on a Thursday night, half watching some cooking show, when I noticed a message from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, just a string of numbers and letters. Normally I'd mark it as spam, but something made me open it. The email was short. You've been selected. Check your mailbox tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. No signature, no context. My first thought was it was a scam like those fake lottery emails, but I didn't remember signing up for anything, and the vagueness of it stuck with me. I checked my mailbox that night, just in case. Nothing. The next morning, I went to work as usual, but the email was still on my mind. I kept wondering what selected meant. Selected for what? By who? I didn't mention it to anyone, not because I was following the instructions, but because it sounded ridiculous. I wasn't about to tell my coworkers I got a cryptic email and was overthinking it. But when I got home that evening, there was a package in my mailbox. A small plain cardboard box, no labels, no return address. My name was written on it in Sharpie, in handwriting I didn't recognize. I took it inside and stared at it for a good 10 minutes before opening it. Part of me expected it to be empty or some kind of prank. But inside was a cheap-looking burner phone, the kind you see in drugstore electronics sections. There was also a folded piece of paper with a single sentence. Turn it on at 9 p.m. tonight. No explanation, no context. I checked the time, 7:45 p.m. I turned the phone over in my hands, looking for anything that might give me a clue. It was fully charged, no contacts, no apps, just a blank screen with a default background. I'll be honest, I was nervous. This felt like the start of something I wasn't sure I wanted to be part of. I thought about tossing the phone and forgetting the whole thing, but curiosity got the better of me. At 9 p.m. sharp, I turned it on. The screen lit up, and within seconds, a text came through from an unknown number. It said, "Go to the park near your apartment. Sit on the bench by the fountain. Wait." That was it. No name, no reason, just instructions. The park was a 5-minute walk from my place, a small green space with a few benches and a fountain that barely worked. I'd passed it 1,000 times but never really hung out there. I debated whether to go. It could have been a setup, some kind of scam, or worse. But I also couldn't shake the feeling that if I didn't go, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering what I missed. So I grabbed my jacket, slipped the burner phone in my pocket, and headed out. The park was empty when I got there, except for a couple of joggers and a guy walking his dog. I sat on the bench by the fountain, feeling like an idiot. The air was cool and the fountain made this faint, gurgling sound. I kept checking the phone, expecting another message, but nothing came. 10 minutes passed, then 20. I was about to give up when a woman walked up and sat on the other end of the bench. She didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, holding a coffee cup. I figured she was just some random person, but then she slid a small envelope across the bench toward me, without saying a word. I picked it up and she got up and walked away. The envelope was light, unsealed. Inside was a key and a slip of paper with an address and a time. 8 a.m. tomorrow. The address was in a part of the city I'd never been to, an industrial area about 20 minutes away. I looked up, but the woman was already gone, blending into the dark. My heart was racing, not because I was scared, but because I had no idea what I was getting into. I went home, locked the door, and spent the rest of the night trying to decide what to do. I barely slept. My mind kept running through possibilities. Maybe it was a job offer, some kind of secret project, or just an elaborate prank. But who would go through all this trouble? I didn't have any enemies, no rich relatives, no reason for anyone to single me out. By morning, I decided to go to the address. I told myself I'd be careful, keep my phone on, and leave if anything felt off. The address led to an old warehouse, the kind with rusted metal walls and cracked windows. It looked abandoned, but there was a single car parked outside, a plain black sedan. I checked the burner phone again, no new messages. The key from the envelope fit perfectly into the side door's lock. I hesitated, then turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. I stepped inside and the door clicked shut behind me. There was no turning back now. The hallway was narrow, with peeling paint and a faint smell of rust. My footsteps echoed on the concrete floor, louder than I liked. I gripped the burner phone in my pocket, half expecting it to buzz with new instructions, but it stayed silent. The dim lights overhead flickered every few seconds, making the place feel even creepier. I kept moving forward because standing still felt worse. At the end of the hallway was a metal door, slightly ajar. I pushed it open and stepped into a large, open room. The warehouse was mostly empty, just a cavernous space with high ceilings and a few scattered crates. In the center was a table, and on it was a laptop, its screen glowing faintly. There was no one else around, no sounds except the occasional drip of water somewhere in the distance. I approached the table cautiously, checking over my shoulder every few steps. The laptop screen displayed a single text box with a blinking cursor and a timer at the top. 10 minutes and counting down. Below the text box was a prompt. Enter the code from the phone. I pulled out the burner phone and checked it again. No messages, no codes, nothing. The timer was already at 9:32. My pulse quickened. I started scrolling through every menu on the phone. Contacts, settings, even the call log, looking for anything that could be a code. Then I noticed the phone's wallpaper, the default one I'd seen before. On closer look, it wasn't just a random pattern. There were faint numbers embedded in the design, barely visible unless you squinted. I typed them into the laptop, 483920. The screen changed instantly. The timer stopped at 8:47, and a new message appeared. You're in. Take the drive and leave. A small USB drive was plugged into the laptop's side. I grabbed it, slipped it into my pocket, and headed back toward the door. My mind was racing with questions. What was on the drive? Why was I chosen for this? Was someone watching me right now? I didn't stick around to find out. I left the warehouse, locked the door behind me, and walked to my car as fast as I could without running. Back at my apartment, I locked the door and checked the windows, feeling paranoid. I turned on my own laptop and hesitated before plugging in the USB drive. What if it was malware or something worse? I decided to use an old tablet I didn't care about instead. When I plugged in the drive, it contained a single file, a video. I clicked play, and a grainy image filled the screen. It showed a room I didn't recognize, with a person sitting at a desk, their face blurred out. They spoke in a calm, distorted voice. If you're watching this, you've passed the first test. Keep the drive safe. You'll be contacted soon. Do not share this with anyone. The video ended after 20 seconds. I played it again, hoping for more clues, but there was nothing else. I checked the drive for other files, but it was empty. I sat there, staring at the tablet, trying to make sense of it all. A test? For what? I wasn't a spy or some genius hacker, just a guy with a desk job. I thought about going to the police, but what would I even say? I had a key, a phone, and a vague video. They'd probably think I was making it up. I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak in my apartment made me jump. The next day was Saturday, so I didn't have to go to work, but I couldn't relax. I kept the USB drive in my pocket, not trusting it anywhere else. Around noon, the burner phone buzzed with a new message. Meet at the coffee shop on 5th Street, 3 p.m. Bring the drive. I knew the place, a small, busy spot downtown. It felt safer than the warehouse, but I was still on edge. I got to the coffee shop early, ordered a drink I barely touched, and sat by the window watching everyone who walked in. At exactly 3 p.m., a guy in a gray hoodie sat at the table next to mine. He didn't look at me, just pulled out a book and started reading. I waited, expecting him to say something, but he didn't. After a few minutes, he dropped a napkin on the floor near my table. When he left, I picked it up. Written inside was another address and a time, 7 p.m. tonight. I went to the address that evening, a storage facility on the edge of town. The key from the envelope unlocked, Unit 214. Inside was a small metal box with a combination lock. The burner phone buzzed again. Code is your birth year. I entered it, and the lock clicked open. Inside was a folder with a stack of papers and a note. Read this. Memorize it, destroy it. The papers were filled with names, dates, and locations, none of which meant anything to me. It looked like a schedule or a plan, but for what I couldn't tell. I read through it all, committing as much as I could to memory, then shredded the papers in my apartment's garbage disposal. I kept the USB drive, though, too scared to destroy it. That night, I lay awake, wondering what I'd gotten myself into. Was this some kind of secret organization? A criminal thing? I had no answers, only instructions. The burner phone stayed silent for the next 2 days, but I knew it wouldn't last. Something bigger was coming, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. The burner phone stayed quiet for 2 days, but the silence was worse than the messages. I went to work on Monday, trying to act normal, but I kept checking my pockets for the phone and the USB drive. My coworkers noticed I was distracted, but I brushed it off with excuses about not sleeping well. Truth was, I hadn't slept properly since the warehouse. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that blurred face from the video or the list of names and dates I'd memorized. I still didn't know what it all meant, but I couldn't shake the feeling I was in too deep to back out. On Tuesday evening, the phone buzzed while I was heating up leftovers. The message was short. Go to the train station. Platform 4:10 p.m. Bring the drive. Leave the phone behind. I stared at the words, my stomach twisting. Leave the phone? That felt final, like I was cutting off my only connection to whoever was behind this. But the train station was public, crowded even at night, so it seemed safer than the storage unit or the warehouse. I decided to go, but I wasn't stupid. I took a picture of the USB drive and uploaded it to a private cloud account, just in case. I got to the train station at 9:45 p.m., the USB drive in my pocket. Platform 4 was busy with commuters waiting for the last trains. I stood near a bench, scanning the crowd for anyone who looked out of place. No one approached me. No one even made eye contact. At exactly 10 p.m., a train pulled in, and the platform got chaotic with people getting on and off. I stayed put, waiting for a sign. Then I noticed a backpack left under the bench, unattended. My first instinct was to ignore it. Abandoned bags in public places are never good news, but something told me it was meant for me. I waited a few minutes, watching to see if anyone came back for it. No one did. I picked it up, trying to look casual, and walked to a quieter part of the station. Inside the backpack was a padded envelope with my name on it, written in the same Sharpie handwriting as the first package. I opened it and found a train ticket for a city 2 hours away, leaving in 20 minutes, and a note. Get on the train. Seat 12A. Give the drive to the person in 12B. My hands were shaking as I read it. This was the first time I'd have to hand something over directly to another person. I boarded the train and found seat 12A. The carriage was half empty, mostly business types and a few students. Seat 12B was occupied by an older man, maybe in his 60s, reading a newspaper. He didn't look up when I sat down. I kept the USB drive in my fist, unsure how to proceed. Was I supposed to just hand it over? Wait for him to say something? The train started moving, and I was running out of time to decide. After about 10 minutes, he folded his newspaper, leaned over, and said quietly, "You have something for me." It wasn't a question. I slid the drive across the armrest without looking at him. He pocketed it, stood up, and walked to another carriage. That was it. No thank you, no explanation. I sat there for the rest of the ride, staring out the window, trying to process what had just happened. When the train reached its destination, I got off and wandered into the station, half expecting someone else to approach me. No one did. I took the next train home, exhausted but wired. The next few days were uneventful, almost too normal. No emails, no packages, no burner phone to check. I started to think it was over, that I'd done my part and they'd leave me alone. But I couldn't relax. I kept checking my cloud account to make sure the photo of the USB drive was still there. I even started writing down everything I remembered, the addresses, the codes, the names from the papers, in a notebook I hid in my apartment. I told myself it was for protection, in case something went wrong. A week later, I got home from work and noticed my front door was slightly ajar. I froze, my keys still in my hand. I always locked the door. Always? I pushed it open slowly, expecting to find my place trashed, but everything looked normal. I checked every room, every drawer. Nothing was missing. Then I saw it. A new burner phone on my kitchen counter, identical to the first one. Next to it was a note. "You kept a copy." That was a mistake. I felt cold all over. How did they know about the cloud photo? Had they been in my apartment before? I grabbed the phone and turned it on. A single message was waiting. Delete the copy. Wait for instructions. I deleted the photo from my cloud account right then, my hands shaking. I didn't sleep that night, just sat on the couch, staring at the phone. No new messages came, but I knew they weren't done with me. Weeks turned into months, and the phone stayed silent. I went back to my routine, but it wasn't the same. I stopped trusting my own apartment, my own decisions. I kept the notebook hidden, adding details whenever I remembered them, hoping it might keep me safe. I never heard from them again, but I'm always looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next package, the next note. I don't know what I was part of, but I know it wasn't small, and I know they're still out there, watching.